Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to do a flip through of my reading journal for 2021. So the first thing that I want to say about this journal is I got it at my secondhand bookstore. I got it at the end of 2019. And I've been using it since then, so this is not only 2021. Let's see, this first part is 2020 and this part right here is 2021, and it's mostly book related, but I first started this as just a regular journal, so there's a lot of notes in here, whether they are school related or personal, but I tried, once I realized I wanted this to be a reading journal, I covered most of them up because they were not, I didn't need them anymore, so I decided to cover them with pretty paper on top. So just to begin with, this is this was just a regular black cover. I did put this on top of it, but I will not fully decorate this until I consider this journal done, because I try to carry this wherever I go if I'm going to be reading. So I don't want whatever I put on the cover to be damaged. So I usually, if I'm going to decorate my covers, I usually do it at the end. So like I said, this started in 2020. I am just going to give you a quick overview. In these pages I had some goals and things, but I also had book related content in here. For example, I had a list of books that I wanted to get to, authors that I wanted to get to. Then this is my first my 2020 bookshelf. And I read a lot more than this, but I decided not to do another bookshelf. So this, I filled it up, and then after that, I didn't do another one or just left it alone. I got this image from Instagram, and I thought it was cute. Here you can see some of my, what I wanted to read. Again, this first part is all 2020. Now this is another project that I was working on, and I started writing it here, and I kept it because it's book related. And but I was looking into diverse books that I would want to include in a classroom. So for this project we had to include 50 books that we know for sure that we need in our classroom library, and these range from kindergarten to 6th grade. This is the books that I was looking to read in August. This is a challenge. There's a booktuber, her channel, I'll have a link in the description box, but her channel is El Librero de Valentina, and she does a challenge every August to read every day, at least 10 minutes every day. October, as you can see, this is a little less organized. This was my first time trying to keep up with a reading journal, so it is a little unorganized. Again, this is all 2020. This was at the end of 2020, and these are the goals that I had for Goodreads. My goal was to read 60 books, but I read 100. These were my 20 favorite books of 2020. Then we have 2021, and as you can see, I still had a lot in this notebook, and I didn't want to start a new notebook for 2021 because I wanted to finish this one. I really like the paper in this notebook. This is, I mean, I appreciate the thicker paper on the bullet journal notebooks, but since this was going to be mainly drawing with regular pens or maybe markers, but the majority of stuff was going to be just written notes, I like this paper for that. So I decided to keep going, and I just made a little separation here with some washi, and I made a nice little drawing of a beehive and a tree. And then here I decided to make this little library. I'm not completely finished with this. As you can see, I want to fill, these are supposed to be bookshelves, and I want to fill it up with books. As you can see, I started here and this tree in the middle. So I was inspired to draw this when I saw this picture. I think it was in a magazine or a book. I saw this and I really liked it, but I wanted to create something similar. So I made this. And like I said, it's not finished, but it is something that I will be working on later on. Then we have, again, my physical TBR. And because it's 2021, I wanted to make a fresh new list of the books that I physically owned and I want to get to sooner rather than later. And as I was reading them, I would mark them or color in the boxes with, which in 2021 I read about 11 of the 40 that I have here. I still have a long way to go. And then we have here my bookshelf, and I'm sure you've seen this before in the all the reading journal setups here on YouTube, but I wanted to make my own. And in each little book, the spine of the book, I wrote the book that I was reading, or the book that I read, I'm sorry, but the book that I had completed. I would finish this. I didn't read it as much as I thought I was going to, but I decided to leave this here, and then I'm going to decorate these spines of the books. So then here I was tracking my daily reading tracker, but I didn't do it all the way through December. Then this one, I am so proud of this little spread right here. I still am obsessed with bees, so I wanted to create a different tracking. I don't know if you've seen with the boxes, but instead of the boxes, I wanted to create something along with related to bees. So I did this is it the beehive, and then this honeycomb. There you go, I couldn't think of the word, but the honeycomb, and I numbered them. My goal for the year was to read 80 books, and I ended up reading 83. So it was very satisfying to color each one of the honeycombs that had the number representing a book that I was reading. So I really like this. I'm really proud of how this came out, and I decided not to do this for 2022, but then I see myself creating this again in future reading journals. Then I have here a tracking system for all the months of the year. If it was a physical book, audiobook, ebook, borrowed, owned, adult, young adult, and so on. But again, I did not finish all of this. I mean, there's always a way that I can go back and finish it, so I might complete this one later on. The same thing happened with tracking the genre of the book: fantasy, sci-fi, classics, romance, contemporary. As you can see, I stopped in July. I didn't do it after that, so maybe later on I will complete that one. Here I wanted to write the name of the book or the name of the author. Any author or book that I wanted to read anytime I heard somebody recommending something that I might be interested in, I wanted to write it here and then go back and see kind of like what to look for anytime I was in the library or looking to buy a new book. These are books that I might find at the library, books that using my Hoopla app or the Libby app. Then we have my January possibility pile, the books that I wanted to get to in January. Then we have what I actually read in January. My first book of the year was Hollowpox, and Hollowpox is the third book in the Nevermore series. This is a middle grade. It's fantasy. It's amazing, and I can't wait to read the next book. And this is more on Hollowpox. One of the characters, her name is Sophia, and I really like that character, so I wanted to make a drawing representing Sophia, and I wrote her name there. I started reading A Promised Land. I did not finish the book, but it's one of the books that I hope that I can complete in 2022. But I started the spread and everything. I wrote some thoughts, some notes, some quotes. I still have room for more. And then I read In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a memoir. It is amazing. Then I have How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Excellent non-fiction book. Then I have Separated is Never Equal. This is such a good book. It's actually a picture book, but it is not, just because it's a picture book, it is not just for children. I recommend that everyone would read it if you want to know a little piece of history having to do with the education system in our country. This talks about a case that went to court regarding the segregation of the schools, and this happened before the very well-known case of Brown versus the Board of Education. And then I have some of Katie Robert. This is from the Wicked Villains series. I have here The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by E.B. Schwab. I read this as an audiobook, and I used my Libby app. And then we move on to February. So in February, I read another one of the Wicked Villains series by Katie Robert. I also read Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. This is a self-help book. Then I have Where the Crawdads Sing. I also listened to this through Libby. It is a mystery book, and it was good. And if you've seen my videos, you have seen this spread. I made this spread because I read Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson, and I really liked that book, and I wanted to recreate the cover. But like I said, I will link that video I made in the description box if you would like to see it. Then I read Casas Vacias by Brenda Navarro, or Empty Houses. Then I read Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. This is a non-fiction book as well, and it's very good. Then I read One of the Good Ones, and this is YA. This was also an audiobook. I used Hoopla to listen to this one. Then we have Amari and the Night Brothers. What an excellent book. This is a middle grade, and the next book is supposed to come out this year. I can't remember what month. I want to say May, but this is such a good book for middle grade audience. Then we come to March. In March, I read Jo Julia. I don't know if there's a translation for this book. The author is Santiago Posteguillo. He is from Spain. It is historical fiction. Then I read Akata Witch by Nedia Cora. I hope I'm saying her name right. I apologize if I'm not. And this is a fantasy story. This is young adult. I ended up listening to the audiobook through Libby, and then because I was getting a little bit confused with the story, but I really wanted to finish it, I ended up getting the physical copy, and I did a blended read with the physical copy and using the audiobook. Then I have an Unkindness of Ghosts. There was in 2021 there was a read-along, a slow read-along with Erica from The Broken Spine, and I had already read this book, but I wanted to reread it, and I wanted to be part of the Discord and the conversation, the discussions that they had. Then I have Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, and this is a nonfiction adult book. There was a lot of also good conversations. There is a live show with Just Owens. If I remember, I will link Erica's video and then also Just Owens' video on this one, because I really enjoyed that discussion as well. Then I read Rule of Wolves. I listened to the audiobook, and this is a conclusion to the King of Scars duology. I also have Y Librenos del Mal. This book was it came out in 2021. I don't think there's a translation for it yet. In May, I listened to The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I also read Como Agua para Chocolate, or Like Water for Chocolate, by Laura Esquivel. And this is such an amazing story about a Mexican family. There's historical fiction, there's magical realism, everything that I want in a book. Then there was another slow read along, this time by Chloe from Thrizzle and Verse, and this one was for the Broken Earth trilogy. This is my second time reading the Broken Earth trilogy, but again, being able to read it with a group of people and having discussions about it and listen to other people's experiences while reading this book enhances your reading experience. So that's why I wanted to participate in this, and I loved it. Then I have Mañana Land by Pam Munoz Ryan. There's also a video on this specific spread. Then I have Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin. This is a short story, part of a short story collection, I believe. This is sci-fi. This is the same author as the Broken Earth trilogy, and this is sci-fi. Like I said, it's very short, but it's so good. Then I have August, and in August I participated in a challenge again for El Librero de Valentina challenge, and the challenge is to read every day for at least 10 minutes. So one of the books I read was El Día que se perdió la cordura. I cannot remember right now off the top of my head the translation. The author is Javier Castillo. It was a really good read. I listened to this on audio. I think it's mystery. This is when I started reading The Poppy War, and I started making my annotations. It took me a long time to read this book, but it was worth it, and I have a lot of annotations. I also have a video talking about this one, because this one is also one of my favorites, so I'll link it down below. Then I read 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, a self-help book. Then I have The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is my second time reading this book. Mystery. I really like it. I do not read a lot of mystery, but this was very good. I really enjoyed reading this one. Then I decided I wanted to read more from the author, and I read Once Upon a River, again by Diane Setterfield. Then I have September, and I really like the spread, how it came out. So I started doing the calendar, because in August, when I did this calendar, I really like to have this visual, so I decided that I wanted to make it, starting to make it every month. So I did my calendar, and every day I would write the name of the book that I was reading, and then how long I was listening to, or how many pages I was listening to. And over here I kept track of the physical audiobook, owned, borrowed, and what application I was using. And then I also was trying to track my journaling. Here I have the list of the books that I read this month. I read 100 Years of Solitude. Then I read a few of the books of Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a trilogy. I think it's called the Mist Trilogy. This is a middle grade trilogy. It's kind of like mystery thriller. These are actually the very first books he wrote, but he did not publish them until much later. And if you read his author's note, which the author's note are always so interesting to me, but if you read the author's note, he says that even though he wrote them, this was the first books he ever wrote. He didn't publish them until later, and he was tempted to go back and rewrite them, but he wanted to publish them just like they were, because people would see like his evolution as a writer. And now that he's gone, he passed away in 2020, I think it is such a great thing to have from an author that I love. You know, he's able to show me his evolution from when he started to write and how he has grown as a writer. I have more notes from the Poppy War because I kept reading but I couldn't finish it. Then I have Velvet Was Denied by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and this is one of my favorites from the author. I gave it 4 stars, but the more I think about it, the more I think it deserves a little more. Then I read the Yellow Wallpaper. It's still a favorite. This is also a reread, and I love this class. So this page, I got it out of a coloring book, and I wanted to add it here to signify the beginning of the October spreads. And then we continue to see the calendar. Now, even though I was tracking my reading before, 2021 is the first year that I've actually done it more regularly, and we're starting to see some discipline in the spreads and everything. So I, as you can see throughout the year, I start to come up with a system that works for me, spreads that work for me. So that's why there's such a big difference from the beginning of the year, like the spreads that I was doing over here, to for example, this in March, I was just doing a simple TBR or possibility pile, books that were in my radar and books that I was actually reading, to now doing a full calendar. And this started in August when I did this one. So this is when I realized, okay, this calendar thing, this works for me, and I want to do this kind of setup with my spreads. I want to do something like this where I have the title, where I have the copy of the book that I'm reading, so you can see kind of like the development of how I'm doing my spreads now. I found some washi tape that had something to do with either the cover or the book that I was reading, the format, the apps that I'm using. I am recording the name of the book. I'm recording how many chapters or pages I read, or how many hours I listened to an audiobook. And again, my reading log. This is a spread I made specifically for the Inheritance of Orquídea Divina, and there's a whole video about this. This is so far out of the books that I've read from this author, this is my least favorite, but I do appreciate learning a little bit more about her writing, and also about this book includes Mexican mythology or Mayan mythology, so I really appreciate that in the book, and I really like that. Then I have Eights of Spades. Now, for some reason, I didn't have this notebook with me when I was reading this book. I was listening to the book on audio. I borrowed it from the Libby app, and I still have to copy my notes into this one. Allergic is a short story about a girl who's allergic to pets and is trying to find the perfect pet for her. And as a person who's allergic to pets, this resonated with me a lot, so I really like that. Then I have Front Desk. Again, I have not copied my thoughts into this one, but there's also a whole video talking about Front Desk. Then I have Cemetery Boys. This is another favorite of 2021. There's a whole video also on this one, and as you can see, I didn't complete the calendar, but it wasn't because this is still not working for me, but it was getting too busy. And this is my log of the books that I read. Then I read Voices of Chernobyl, and this is a collection of interviews that the author made to survivors, conducted with survivors of the radioactive explosion in Chernobyl, and it is really good. I listened to the audiobook in Spanish, and it is a dramatized audiobook. It is so heartbreaking, but it is so good, and it just talks about all of the survivors and how it affected them, but not only the people that actually had to live through that horrible experience, but generation after generation that had to suffer with the consequences of this. The next book I have here is in Spanish is La ridícula idea de no volver a verte. In a rough translation is the ridiculous idea of never seeing you again. I don't think there's a translation for this book, but the author is Rosa Montero. I listened to this on audiobook. I also read Severance by Ling May, and I really like the open ending on this book. Not a lot of people are a fan of that, but I loved it. I also read The Marrow Thieves, and this is such a good story too. There's also a video in my channel with talking about this book because it's one of my favorites. And then we have December. Again, we started to get busy. I missed a few days. I didn't fill this out. I did try to log in the days that I was reading. I was not reading as much as I wanted to. When I started, this is Patria. The translation is Homeland by Fernando Aramburu. I'm about a little more than halfway through, and I'm still reading this. I have tabs all over. I have annotations all over. I cannot wait to finish this book. It is so good. It is so good so far. Here, I've decided that for every year I wanted to do this. This was part of a tag on BookTube, and now I can't find the tag, but these are the some of the questions that I had. This is what I did. I did some drawings. I put some stickers in here. I decided to pick 21 books in 2021. So these for me were like the books to read, and I don't think I had such a good reading year in 2021. But over here I wrote new authors to me, and I wrote all the new authors that any author that I hadn't read anything from before, and then I put a little mark here because these are authors that I want to read more of their work, either backlist or I would be in the lookout for future books that come out. R.F. Kuang has a book coming out this year, and I think the name is Babel. I'm not sure what the name of the book is, but I really want to read that book. Let's see, new favorite characters was the next question. What are your new favorite characters? And I have Maritza from Cemetery Boys. I have Sophia from Hollowpox, Katai from The Poppy War, Amari from Amari and the Night Brothers, Zoya from Rule of Wolves, Anan from the fifth season, Ursula from 100 Years of Solitude, Renan from The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina, and Bilbo from The Hobbit. And one thing that I've noticed is that it's very rare for me to have the main character as my favorite character. For example, like here only Amari and Bilbo are the main characters of the story. So it's just, it's always a secondary character, the friend of the main character, who is one of my favorites. So I found that interesting about myself lately. I have over here a list of books that I want to read in 2022. I am going to make a video of the books that are in my bucket list, so I'm going to just leave that. I put a sticker here, another sticker here, something I'm doing for me. Reading is always something that I do for me. This is another tag that was created by Ariel Bissett, and she's a booktuber, and I will have a link in the description box below where you can find her video that she did for 2021. But basically there's 6 questions, and the first question is any books you started this year that you have not finished. The second question is an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year, new releases you're still waiting for, and then books you want to read before the end of the year. Patria, which didn't happen, and The Lost Apothecary, which did happen, so yay. Book that might surprise you and become your favorite. I thought it would be Patria, but it might be my favorite, but for 2022. Have you already made reading plans for 2022? This is my spread of The Lost Apothecary. Very good book in mystery. I'm starting to read a lot more mystery for some reason, but oh, it's such a good book. Then I read the poems by Kwame Alexander. I hope I said his name right. And they're called Light for the World to See. So the next book I read was The Witches by Roald Dahl, and in 2020 I read Matilda, and I loved it. And of course, ages ago I watched the movie, and it's still one of those comfort movies. And in 2021 I wanted to read another one of his books, and I decided to read The Witches. Another great book, and I can't wait to read more from this author. Then finally I have The Mothers by Brit Bennett. I had read, I want to say in 2020, I read The Vanishing Half and loved it, and I decided that I wanted to read more from the author, so I bought The Mothers, but I never read it until now. And I actually finished this book December 31st, and it was like, what a way to end the year, you know. I have here my year in books. I ended up reading 83 books, and I read 23,542 pages. This is the little, I took a image from the Goodreads page, and I wanted to add it here. And this is information that you can find. You can click on my Goodreads link and it'll take you to my Goodreads page, and you can find more information. So this is just a little reflection of the books that I read, and basically how I want to what I want to do for next year's goal, and the changes that I want to make. Then I have some poppy flowers here for the poppy word. There's also a video. Quote here from Neil Gaiman, and I wanted to add it here in my journal. Of course, you see Victoria's art everywhere. All of my notebooks, more art. I put some washi tape here because the page, it was breaking apart. And here on March 13th, we decided to do each other's hands. This is the first dragon I ever drew, and I hope you guys can see it. I think it turned out really cute. And it's like the dragon coming out of the pages of the books. And like I said, this was going to be my book log for 2021. This was going to be in another notebook, but then I decided I'm going to keep it here. So then we're back here. I taped the pages as best as I could. This is another drawing that I was working on. And then this is my reading log, where I had the title of the book, the name of the author, the genre, the if it's a middle grade, adults, young adults, all of that. Then I have if it's an audiobook and what application I'm using, if I own it or did I borrow it, and then the length of the book. And of course, more arts. Why not? And then there's a pocket in the back, which I don't have. I really like how this came out. I have all kinds of washi tape. As far as washi tape, I use basically the cheapest thing I can find. I will try to see if I can link it. But I know, for example, this washi tape, I had it for years. I'm thinking it was probably Michael's or Joann's where I got it. I know this one I got it from Amazon, and I will try to link everything. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer as best I can, or direct you the best that I can. But that is it for my 2021 reading journal. I am excited to call this one done, and the next time, in the next couple of videos, I think I am going to be showing you my new one for 2022. I'm really excited to share that with you guys too. So but for now, this one is done, and I'm so proud of everything that I've done so far. And I can see myself adding a few things here and there, but I just love that I have created all of this. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you keep a reading journal, or if this might inspire you to keep one. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.